Welcome to the Indie Marketers Podcast. My name is Mike McFarland. This is episode 1 of the Indie Marketers Podcast. And this week, I have a very special guest, someone who I've known for pretty much as long as I've been in MarTech now, for about 16 years. We've had the opportunities to work together. We've had the opportunities to collaborate together. And she is someone who I look up to, someone who I respect very much. So without further ado, let's jump right into the show. So to those who have been wondering who the secret first guest was, Leigh Oxley, what's up?
What's up?
How you doing?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
It's been a minute.
It has it?
Not well, kind of. It's funny. We definitely reconnected more in the last few years.
Yeah.
Over just random stuff here and there. But it's been nice kind of rekindling our friendship.
Yeah.
And maybe just talking about work and talking about the space and all that sort of stuff. So really appreciate you taking time to come and talk to me today.
Absolutely. Happy to be here. I'm excited.
And happy Friday. For those that are listening on the day that this will hopefully come out today, this is Black Friday. So as we in Canada like to call it Black Friday now too, apparently, because we share that holiday with the States. But it's also kind of a holiday for us Canadians that work with primarily US people, because no one is online.
Nobody works.
Except for us. Us fellow Canadians are online together.
Yes. Yeah. It's shopping day.
It is shopping day.
Yeah.
It is shopping day. And which actually works out quite well now, I guess, doing shopping before Christmas. You get all these deals now versus after Christmas with Boxing Day, and makes the gift giving process a little bit cheaper for those, because nothing's really cheap right now.
Nothing is cheap.
No.
Nothing is cheap.
So where are you talking to us from today?
Home office in just outside of Vancouver, Canada.
Lovely. And how's the weather?
Rainy and gloomy and dark. All the lights are on in the room. It's
so very typical Vancouver weather.
Yeah, classic Vancouver November day.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, let's get into this a little bit. So for those that are listening to this podcast for the first time, if you haven't listened to the teaser, this is really going to be focusing on folks that have really gone out on their own. And Leigh is one of those folks that we've had the opportunity to work together for a long time, but she's also ventured out on her own along the same sort of lines that I have. And so really want to kind of jump in and kind of talk about, like, how did you get started in marketing automation? Because I think you and I have a very similar story that way, but would love to hear kind of how your path kind of took you there.
Yeah, for sure. We have a very similar story from kind of the start of marketing automation onward, I guess.
Right.
So I started out, I was doing like tech support at a big blue corporation, we'll say. Doing tech support, like call center stuff, hated it. I remember talking to my dad and being like, like tech isn't for me. My brother is the tech person in the family. I'm not into tech. I'm not into computers. I fell into this job. I really don't like it. And I decided I didn't want to do that anymore. And I went out and applied for, it was actually for an admin assistant position. With this recruiting agency, and they called me back and they were like, hey, we really like your resume, but not for this admin assistant. Like, this doesn't make any sense. You need to come in. We have this position with this really great young company in Toronto, right downtown, fashion district. You got to come in and interview for this, but it is kind of a tech support-ish type job. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. They convinced me to do it. I came in, I interviewed with 3 people, and I like immediately fell in love with the people. They gave me a tour of the office. There was like snacks and fresh fruit and stuff out. And I was like, this place, like it's young, it's fresh, it's exciting. Like you could feel the energy in the office, really like the people that I was meeting. So I agreed to take the job. I remember again, talking to my dad, and he was like, well, what is the job? And I said, oh, it's a product specialist. And he goes, on what product? And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, yeah, well, what's the company? I said, it's this company called Eloqua. He goes, what do they do? I don't know. I had no idea. I had no idea what I was in for. I didn't have a marketing background. I didn't have a marketing degree. So I showed up and sat, I think, 3 feet away from you
Yeah.
at the time.
Yep.
Right beside you. And that was kind of my intro to marketing automation. I literally knew nothing. I didn't know the first thing about marketing. And I came in, and I think the product specialist role was, a great intro, because it was immediately thrown in, figure it out, right? Which is something that I've always loved, and I still love to this day. Like, I want to troubleshoot and problem solve and figure things out and figure out how things work. So despite my arguments with my dad that I was not into tech, I have now built this whole career around tech and around marketing, tech specifically. And I think just, the joining Eloqua at that time, I think I was 100 and something higher. Like, we were very small then.
Yeah.
You were, I think, hired.
I think it was 5 months before you.
Months. Yeah.
Yeah. Like they were starting to go through definitely growing the company. Excuse me. But I think they were also really starting to explore hiring outside of the people who already worked there.
Yeah.
I remember joining. I think I was like one of the first people that was actually didn't know anybody there when I started. Because I went through the same path as you. I met with a recruitment agency and got the same. We maybe went through the same agency. Now that I think of it, I don't know. We'll have to talk about that after.
Yeah.
But same spiel, like really cool tech company growing in the fashion district. I went to school for marketing. I love tech. And all of a sudden it's just like, how does this fall into my lap? How does this happen? Yeah. And same thing, love the people, love the office, love the atmosphere, and love the opportunity to do something that I didn't go to school for, because neither of us went to school for this. Or nobody does. So very similar path. And so that's very interesting. And so we started in product support together, which I like to tell people that was basically consulting or professional services over the phone.
Yeah. It totally was. Yeah. And we had to help people figure out how to do anything they were trying to do. Like, I want to do this. And they would just call in, and instead of paying for professional services, we would have to figure it out.
We didn't have it. We didn't have professionals. Well, we had a few partners, I think, like Mike Couch was very early doing stuff before Couch and Associates was started.
Yeah.
And I believe it was Jeff Pedowitz that was the one that brought up the partner program formally at Eloqua at the time as well.
Yeah.
And so we were that first line of defense to help people not just troubleshoot problems, but how to use the product.
How to do things. Yeah, exactly.
And it was a really, I love the way we got thrown in. There was no documentation on anything. You literally just had to talk to people around the office. And at the time, I feel so fortunate that we had this opportunity. We could literally sit next to developers' desks.
Yes.
And like, they could show us how things would work. They would pull the code up and say, this is why this is doing this.
Yeah.
Or the influence that we had on roadmap. Like, it was incredible. It was a really, really cool time, I think, for all of us. And there's a lot of very prominent and I would say successful people in the B2B MarTech space that came out of Eloqua at that time as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You being one of them. So you started in product support, you were a product specialist. It was support. It wasn't support, but product specialist. Now obviously you didn't stick in that role forever. Where did you kind of navigate to next?
Yeah, for sure. So I think I made it like 4 or 5 months. It wasn't long before Jeff Pedowitz, who was starting up the professional services team, and Andy and Kelly were product consultants, and Joel and Vic. And Jeff Pedowitz came to me and said, I want to pull you over into the product consulting team. Do you want to do that? And I was like, no, sure. I still don't know what I'm doing. I still haven't figured out what this company does. So I was like, yeah, sure. Right. And that was, I think, one of my favorite things looking back on Eloqua back then. Right. And my progression through Eloqua and then Oracle and onwards in my career, which I know I'm sure we'll talk about as we go. Was I always say that ability to wear all the different hats and jump around and try different things, even if I hadn't, like, I went into the product consulting and did some professional services work, but I was still doing support stuff. I was still working with the training team. I was still working with project managers. I was still working with developers and having those relationships. And I think that is what was really, really cool at the time, but also is what kind of empowered a lot of what happened in my career over time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think the product specialist role at the time was definitely a springboard for a lot of people.
For sure. Yeah.
We saw folks like Matt Grantham go from product support to all of a sudden designing Eloqua 10, or what's now known as Eloqua. Myself too, I started in support and then went into marketing ops. And that's, I think, when I look back at our time there, that's my fondness. Like, I got to work with Brian Carden, Joe Chernoff, Amber, Claudia, Erica, Chris Petco, Jim Williams, Tara Bassett. Like, it was this rock star team. Sorry, I shouldn't say rock star. That's such a cliche thing to say.
You love it.
But it was such a special time. Like, you don't have, like, you don't realize it at the time, like just how special it is. But I can look back on it now and be like, wow, that really helped shape my career, to be surrounded by people like that. And then the whole company too, with like Paul Tashima, Steve Woods, Joe Payne, Alex Shootman. Like, wow. Like, we were in this incubator of, like, basically preparing ourselves for our career, and both of us have made careers out of what we're doing now. So again, like, such a special time for us. Now, we've done different roles at Eloqua together. We've done professional services. We've done things like that. Where did Eloqua take you? Because we obviously we stayed at Eloqua for as long as we did, but then what happened next?
Yeah, for sure. So the Oracle acquisition happened. And again, my dad is my sounding board. My dad worked at same Big Blue corporation. For most of his career. So he's always been kind of my corporate sounding board. So I remember when the Oracle acquisition was announced, and I was like, I'm out. Like, I'm not doing this big corporate thing anymore. I loved that Eloqua was small and startup. And he was like, listen, sit tight, have it on your resume for a year, right? It's meaningful to have that on your resume.
Absolutely.
It looks good. Stick it out for a year. You can manage. Acquisitions take forever to go through. It'll be fine, blah, blah, blah. I lasted 4 years into the acquisition, which was amazing, right? And I learned so much, and I grew, right? And I moved into the training department. I had that opportunity, which really kind of pushed my career even further. So after 4 years, I did the training team. I left. I was managing the curriculum group for what was then Oracle Marketing Cloud Academy. So I had all 5 of the Marketing Cloud product lines under me. Our team was writing all the curriculum. It was fantastic. But the time comes when you have to leave a job. So I left there and I went on to Vision Critical, which was another there were a lot of ex-Eloqua people there, a lot of people that I really respected and had loved working with over the years. Melissa Madian, Sweeney Williams was there. Dave Kuiper. So a lot of people that I knew from Eloqua, and I was like, hey, this feels good. This feels, it feels safe, right? Because there are people there that I know. But it was exciting. It was market research, SaaS-ish. So there was a lot of really cool opportunity there. So I went there, I did some customer experience enablement stuff. Left there after a period, just through like a lot of restructuring and the role, they switched my role around and just things were not as exciting as they had been when I first joined. So I hung out there for a bit and I realized I really it was SaaS and it was market research, but it wasn't marketing automation.
Right.
And I physically in the Vancouver office sat beside the marketing team. And I found I was often like leaning over going, oh, well, what are you guys working on? Like, oh, I can help you with that. I can show you how to do that. And like, oh, well, you could think about this and think about that. So I realized I was really missing marketing and marketing automation and ops. So I left there. I went to an agency, did some agency life for a while. that was interesting, to say the least. It wasn't the best spot. I think agency life is spectacular in that you get so much so fast, right?
Absolutely.
And it's like, just jump back in. And I was working too much. My personality does not let me kind of just walk away from my computer at the end of the day.
Yep.
So I was taking on too much. There was too much going on. It was not all that well managed. So I ended up leaving there, but I was so grateful for the opportunity still, because it did grow me so much, right? Like
Absolutely.
having to balance and manage 6 clients at once and huge projects and QA problems over here. And I was really doing a lot of everything, a lot of campaign services work, but also strategic consulting there. And I think that's kind of what gave me my foundation and jumping board into going out on my own, because I left there, and that was the last job, quote unquote, that I had. I went from there to, I'm going to just do this on my own for a bit.
It's really interesting that the way you talk about agency life, because I've done agency work as well. I worked at Couch and Associates twice in very different capacities both times. But the opportunity to be, I think for me, being an Eloqua guy, you're an Eloqua gal, to be exposed to other marketing automation platforms, to be exposed to different types of industries. Like Eloqua was very into like B2B tech in general. So getting to work in like education, getting to work in manufacturing, getting a different exposure to things was really, really beneficial. And it definitely prepared me, I think, for what I'm doing now. And I'm sure it probably prepared you for helping start Elo Consulting.
Yes, sir.
So Elo Consulting, let's talk a little bit about that. What were some of the services that you tried to offer coming out the gate there?
None. So much like starting marketing automation, I really kind of fell into it. It was not an intentional start. So when I left that agency, again, I was not in a good space for myself. And that was the first time, that my whole life, I have been you don't leave a job until you have another job with signed off, right? Like you don't. And I did that. I left that job and I had nothing on the horizon. I didn't have any conversations. And I went and talked to a friend of mine, and she runs a dog walking business, and was like, oh, I sprained my ankle. I can't do dog walking right now. Do you want to take over my dog walking clients? And she did boarding and training and other things. I was like, yeah, sure. Like, right. It was mid-spring. So I was like, cool. Like, that sounds great. So I walked dogs for a summer. It was great. It was, I was outside and I was playing with dogs. I was not using my brain and it probably wasn't all that good for paying the bills. So during that time, I kept having people contact me and say, hey, I see that you're not at Agency X anymore. What are you doing? I'm walking dogs. And like industry, right? Network people.
Absolutely.
And they would go, what do you mean you're walking dogs? Like, you're not walking dogs. And I was like, no, I do. I'm a dog walker.
What a career change.
It's a total career change. And I had a few people at first wanted, hey, I'm growing my team. And because of my time in the training organization at Eloqua and Oracle, can you train my team? I have a new team member coming on board, small companies, small agencies, independents. I'm trying to grow my team. I don't have time to train somebody. Can you teach them? Can you teach them how to use Eloqua? I've got an instance. Can you just show them how to do it? Yeah, sure. We have a team. You had reached out, and one of your former.
I was a customer of Elo Consulting when I was at Path Factory. One of the things I think working at Path Factory, kind of like working at an agency, is you get exposed to different marketing automation platforms, because it's not just Eloqua that integrates with Path Factory. It's Marketo, it's Pardot, it's HubSpot. And Eloqua was kind of a shadow for a lot of folks because they had never used it before. It just, the broader CX team just didn't have a ton of knowledge in it. So that's when I reached out to you and said, hey, can we run a training session for the CX org here at Path Factory on Eloqua? And it was phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. The team had a blast.
And that's kind of where it started, right? Like you were one of the first customers. I don't think Elo was even really a thing yet at that point. It was, I had maybe done the name registration, like maybe, but you were one of the very first few people. But I had like a number of people reach out in over that summer while I was walking dogs, saying, hey, I need some help with Eloquent. I have a campaign coming up for a client. Can you like just do the builds in Eloquent? Like just build the emails, the landing pages, the forms, all the process around it. Sure, why not? Right? Like, oh, what do you charge? I was like, I have no idea. I don't know what I charge. Like, what is this? So I really stumbled into it, and living in Vancouver, fall started to come. And the rain started to come, and I had a conversation with my friend. I said, I don't think I want to dog walk through winter. Like that was fun in the summer. I don't want to be outside in the rain all winter. So I was like, okay. So then it was kind of this shift of like, if I'm actually going to do this, like I actually have to do this. So what am I going to do? Right. So it was training services, a lot of training first, and kind of campaign services stuff. And then I am forever grateful to my network of people, because that's who brought all of my business. I never sold myself or anything. I never actively went after any clients. I have a wonderful, spectacular network of friends and colleagues who brought business to me, and referred people to me.
But that's also a testament to you, I think, as well. Like, don't sell yourself short. Like, I'm in the same boat. Just now, after 2 years of starting 3MG, and my wife, Kim, is now doing all of my marketing, my social marketing and all of that. This is the first time I've actually started to market. For the last 2 years, all of my business has been my network or referrals. And give yourself credit. We have a great network. We have great people that we've worked with in the past, but they probably look at you and say, Leigh is amazing. Leigh is great.
Right.
You would be an idiot to not work with Leigh. So training services, that's kind of is that where you've kind of found your balance with Elo? Is that where you spent the majority of your time, or did you add in anything else as you kind of grew at that point?
Yeah, it started with training services, and then it became, I landed through a referral from Omar, who was also part of our original little product support crew. He referred one of his ex-colleagues to me. They ended up putting me on retainer for a 2-year contract of just as an extension of their team, really. Just being, they didn't want to hire a marketing ops person internally. They had one person, they had Eloqua, they had one person who could like build emails and, landing pages a little bit, not really, like quite limited, do some segmentation, write some basics, but nobody to kind of oversee. Nobody really understood marketing ops at that organization. So they pulled me in and were like, just run MOPS for us on contract. So that became my biggest client. And then between that, I would do, little lead scoring, lead nurturing, mostly workshops, a lot of workshopping, and then building as well on the side, right? Like, hey, we got to stand up 5 landing pages with forms and a process to manage all this webinar registration. Yeah, sure. Okay. So,
well, it's funny, like, there was a point in my career, and I don't know if you felt this way, some of that tactical work I kind of dismissed, because it's like, especially as you grow in your career, you take on different challenges, different roles. It's like, why am I still building emails? Why am I still building landing pages?
Right.
But you don't realize, like, some of those what we take advantage of as being very simple tasks now, for some organizations, that's really difficult to do.
Yeah.
And so the value out of not just being able to build something efficiently, but knowing how to tie everything together, how to report on it after, how to make recommendations after. Don't sleep on doing little work like that. It grows to be more and more. And if anything, it can help just show that the value that you're bringing is more than just being a button clicker.
Absolutely. And I think a lot of what grew out of that when I did take those little projects was showing them, hey, here's how I did it, and then providing documentation on that stuff as well. So building a process, building out templates so that I could say, next time you have a webinar, hit these, right?
Yep.
Here's the templates for the emails, here's the landing page, here's the form, just do this. And helping organizations understand how streamlined it could be so that they could take that work on themselves, because then they're calling you back for the more strategic things.
Exactly.
Right?
I've lost, I've lost a few customers because I've done everything that they needed to do so that they could do it on their own.
Yeah.
And that's almost like the best.
Yeah.
That's like for me, that's the ultimate success. It's like, my success is you won't need me anymore.
Yeah.
Like, I will have done what you brought me in to do so that you can do it. And then maybe it's a referral later on. Maybe there's a new project later on, but you've built a good, strong foundation with them so that as they grow, they can start to potentially lean on you for other things in the future.
Absolutely.
I want to kind of dive into the business side of Ello.
Yeah.
So we've talked a lot of, like, I've told clients in the past, like, my 9 to 5 job is consulting. And then my 9 to 11 job, or my 5 to 11 job, is running the business.
Yeah.
What was it like running Ello? And again, you're a solopreneur. That's the term I see floating around. Yeah. What was it like working for yourself?
Awesome and exhausting, because as you say, it's during the day, I'm doing my consulting job.
Yep. And
then at night, I'm doing all my bookkeeping, all my invoicing, all my, answering emails and updating my webpage. And, I say I never sold myself. I, had like an Instagram account that I did like little bits of things on. And so you have so much more. And I think, everybody says, oh, I want to work for myself. Oh, I want to work from home, and work for myself and just like be on vacation whenever I want. And like, that's great. And it is flexible. And I can say, oh, I'm taking this week off. I'm not taking any projects on for this week, or I'm unavailable. And I can say that to clients, where it's easier to say that than to a job in some ways. But it's also, there's so much more, and the pressure, like, it's on you, right? Yep. Like it's on you to succeed or not. And when you have a house and bills you have to pay and a family and all that stuff, it creates a lot of stress that, a regular job probably doesn't create all that, right? You don't have all the extra, but it's also incredibly rewarding, I think. And because it's on you, right? It's absolutely for the same reason, right? It's, you get to see and you watch your little baby grow and do cool things. Well,
I remember starting when I started 3MG, I remember sitting down in front of my computer one night and just like brain dumping stuff of like, these are things that I could do. Yeah. Who do I want to reach out to? Do I like market myself a specific way? Do I do all of these things? And that was almost the fun part, because it's like, it's just creative and there's no pressure. It's just kind of dumping everything out there. And I think starting 3MG, maybe it was the same thing for you with Ello. You want to see yourself in the company. Like, you want your company to be a reflection of who you are.
Absolutely.
And like, I don't want it to be stale. I'm not sitting here writing fucking white papers or ebooks and shit like that. I want to build some cool shit. Yeah. And I want to work with people that have that same mentality of like wanting to try and fail and just do new things.
Yeah.
And I've been super fortunate. I have an amazing roster of customers that I've worked with that I'm still working with, and it's been phenomenal that way. You hit on something about the stresses, and I think that's one of the things that I don't know if I was necessarily 100% prepared for, was some of the stresses. The biggest one being finances.
Of course.
Absolutely. Depending on your roster of clients, depending on your billing frequencies and things like that, you've got to do a lot of planning and prepare for, like, I've got a mortgage payment that's coming out on this date. I got to make sure I get paid by this date.
Yeah.
Little things like that. It's not like when you're you're working in a corporate environment where you have your pay periods and you're getting your same paycheck every 2 weeks or whatever it is. That's not to disparage that. I'm not saying that like there are 100% different stresses that come with working in a corporate environment.
Yeah.
But there's something where you find yourself in your company that it is all on you. Yeah. And it's a much different thing to kind of experience, but I wouldn't trade it for the world at this point. And I don't know if you feel the same way. It's so rewarding when you feel like you've accomplished what you were always just brain dumping or thinking, like I was 2 years ago.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I think, it's funny that you mentioned that, because I did the same brain dump, right? Sit down at the computer and like, okay, what can I do? Because it was very early days and I was doing some of the training stuff and people kept contacting me like, oh, we want to set up lead scoring. Can you like workshop that out with us? And like with my marketing team, we don't know. And sure. Yeah. Like, let's do that. And I remember sitting down, it was planning for building a website. And I was like, what the heck do I do? Like how do I put who I am? Because it is who I am that I'm selling, right? It's not like, oh, I know how to use Eloqua. It's you're buying me. And I think that's when we say, it's on you. That's because people are buying you. There is no product when you're in consulting. Your brain is your product and your personality. You
yourself are like, there's no physical product you're selling. You kind of are the product.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the things I've really learned to appreciate, just even when I talk to potential clients and things like that, is I just want to be brutally honest about what I know and what I don't know.
Yep.
But like Salesforce. I have no formal training in Salesforce. I don't think you do. I don't know if you do either. I learned Salesforce from being at Eloqua, and it's the CRM that every one of my customers use. So you just inherently start to like learn it. And I've got 2 customers that I work with right now that it's strictly Salesforce work. And when I met with them for the first time, I'm just like, just so you know, I'm not a Salesforce admin. Yeah. Like I don't have any formal training. I don't have any of the certifications that you see everyone put in their fucking LinkedIn profiles, like 10 times Salesforce certified. What does that even mean? Like, isn't one time enough? Anyway, but just being honest like that.
Yeah.
And people would just come back and be like, you know what? Like, that's kind of okay. Yeah. It's like, if you're willing to learn and like, if you're willing to like, just be resourceful and like know where to look and how to find stuff and how to do stuff and just be honest about that, people look at that and just like, that's the kind of person I want to work with, not someone who's potentially coming with X certifications or X experience. Experience matters 100%. And certifications help too. But I think certifications can sometimes block the experience because a lot of times folks are just regurgitating what they learned on Trailhead or things like that. They don't actually have that practical experience of trying to put things together.
Yeah. Yeah. Which you and I have talked about a lot over the last few weeks.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
For years. Yeah. And I think, I think that says a lot, right? When you can go to somebody and I think that's also cycling thoughts running through my head really fast.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's also one of the biggest stressors for me in being independent is, can I do this from day one? Yep. But also like Monday afternoon.
Absolutely.
I was like, what am I doing? Like, I can't do this. I don't know anything about Salesforce. I don't have 10 fucking certifications, right? Like I just don't. So when you have that, like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. That can be incredibly overwhelming.
Yep.
But also very scary when because again, it's all on you.
It's all on, you don't have a colleague that you can go tap. Like we were so fortunate back in the days to work with folks that you could tap on the shoulder and like ask a question to that you had no idea of and then get the answer that you need.
Yeah.
There's no one else in here. There's we're the answer to the client.
Yes.
So it does become really stressful when it's like, I know this needs to be done, but I don't even know where to start.
Yep. But I think, and that's one of the things that has allowed me to be successful as an independent, is the network of people that I can shoot you an email and be like, oh my goodness, client just asked for this XYZ. What the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
How do I do this? And I have a set of people, Francisco Dominguez,
Yep.
you, Adrian Pacheco.
Yep.
I have like a handful of people who I can go to. I feel like Adrian will kill me for saying that out loud, but that I can go to at 10 o'clock at night and be like, dude, I need help.
Yep.
I don't know what I'm in over my head. I don't know what I'm doing. I've been trying to fix it myself, can't figure it out. And while I am an independent and it is all on me, I think the lovely thing about MOPS and automation and we have a really tight knit little community.
We really do.
Especially as independents, we're all kind of looking out for each other. And,
Yep.
you know, I've referred work. I'm like, hey, I'm too busy right now. Let me send this work over here. Let me send this work over here. And that's been repaid to me as well. Right. So while we are independent and it's all on you, I think we have this amazing little tight knit community that we can tap on the shoulder. Yeah.
It's super collaborative in the sense that, like I've always said, there's more than enough food on the table for everyone.
Yeah.
And if I don't know something, but I know someone else does know something, and that ultimately leads to me losing business, is it better for the customer? Absolutely. Is it good for the colleague that I'm referring to? Absolutely. And for me, it's potentially saving me stress. It's potentially saving me like heartache if I fuck something up really bad. And like it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to refer to help because I don't know. I'm just a firm believer. You put good shit out, good shit will come in.
Absolutely.
And I think just like you said, we've got a really great network of folks that we can rely on. You and I have asked each other questions about Eloqua or Salesforce or HubSpot in the past, where it's just like, have you ever done this before? Do you know how to do it? Can we jump on a screen share and just kind of walk each other through it?
Yeah.
That's just the way that I think folks like us are. We want to share our knowledge with each other and help each other so that we can all be better.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Now, when it comes to kind of entrepreneurship, are there things that you like or didn't like, or things that you like or don't like about it? Are there things that you miss about working in corporate versus working for yourself?
Yeah. Benefits?
Yeah. That's a huge one. Options?
Paid, stock options, paid massages, stuff
Yep.
like that. I think, you know, we touched on it earlier, you mentioned, right, that kind of consistent pay, right?
Yep.
It's where, you know, the financials can get pretty stressful as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
Despite the fact that when I was little, I wanted to grow up and be an accountant, and I went to school for accounting. I hate bookkeeping.
Me too.
And doing all of that invoicing and all of that. I'm away from it now, right? Like I love numbers. I love a nice clean balance sheet.
Absolutely.
I don't want to do it. No. And then I would say the other thing that I like and don't like is my personality in this, in that I will bite off more than I can chew.
Yep.
Regularly, right? Because and maybe that's part of the financials of it, but I will take on more work than I should, and I will deep dive in and work until 11 o'clock at night and be like, oh, it's fine. I won't do it next week. I'll take a quieter week next week, but then I won't, right? Then I'll keep going. So I think getting better at, and I have been getting better at self-regulation in that sense, and monitoring myself. But I think that's kind of the one thing, is that I really pour myself into it. Yeah. And but that's also, as we discussed, right, it's really rewarding when you then get, you know,
super rewarding. And I think too, like what I've noticed, and I noticed this when I was in agency life as well, when you work with someone for a long period of time, maybe it's a year, maybe it's 6 months, you get to know them as a person. Like I'm the type of person that, like, when I talk to my clients, if they want to share like how their weekend was, if they want to talk about their family, if they want to talk about personal stuff, I'm all for it. because it just makes that relationship so much easier. And it kind of distances yourself from being the product.
Yes,
So
absolutely.
like you're a human. You can make mistakes. You don't know everything. And it just becomes it definitely becomes a much more collaborative relationship. And it makes it easier when you have to have tougher conversations or where something doesn't go right to all kind of just, you respect each other. You just have a different appreciation for the relationship versus
Absolutely.
like if you're a support representative at say Big Blue and you get someone calling in, they're just going to yell at you and like talk down to you. And it's like, they have nothing to do with your problem. They're trying to help you, but it's the same kind of thing. I think with consulting or doing things on your own, you want those relationships because it just makes the work, it makes staying up until 11 or 12 o'clock
worth it
in
a
because
weird
you're
way.
helping.
Yes.
In a weird way. Like I want to see my clients be successful, and just same with you. I want them to be excited about the stuff that I'm doing. I want them to be like, oh my God, like I don't want them to think that we couldn't do this without Mike. You could do this without Mike. It's just maybe a little bit more efficient with Mike or a little bit more efficient with Leigh. But yeah, there's a lot of that stuff, I think, when it comes to thinking about like what you like and what you don't like. It's really being like, again, you are the product and it's a product of your personality sometimes with what you're doing. So I can totally appreciate that. The bookkeeping stuff too, just I outsource that now. I still do my invoicing, but all the bookkeeping and tax stuff and just no, I can't.
I still do all my own. I should.
Oh, Leigh, you're just
because I'm a nerd, because I love numbers, right?
I love numbers too. I love logging into QuickBooks and seeing everything. But like my bookkeeper is just so good at like making, like my bookkeeper is like me in the sense that like I like building really sexy marketing ops dashboards or sales dashboards and stuff like that. That's what my bookkeeper's like with all my finances. She wants everything to be nice and clean and reportable and easy to understand so that when I go and take a look at how things are going, I don't have questions for her on it. It's all there.
Yeah.
Interesting. So yeah, entrepreneurship, fun times. Fun times. I'm very cognizant of time. You've definitely, I really appreciate you making yourself available to chat on a Friday, I guess Friday morning for you, Friday afternoon for me. That's ended with some fun stuff, like some fun questions. What are you listening to these days?
I think it's called the Hype Workout channel on Spotify. There's a lot of like Megan the Stallion.
Ooh.
Stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any songs that you would recommend folks to take a listen to if they're looking to get their energy up based on kind of this workout playlist?
Oh God.
You're going to pull up Spotify, aren't you?
Well, I'm tempted to. No, I don't know. I feel like none of them are like really PC appropriate. There's a lot of swearing. We swear.
That's okay. It's okay.
I'm like, I've had Lotto on my on repeat a lot lately.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I don't know that song, but okay. Or maybe I do. Like we've got our artists. Yeah. So there you go. I clearly don't know anything.
I feel like you and I have slightly different taste in music. I think we listen to very different things.
That's okay. That's okay. Any shows or movies that you would recommend or that you're kind of diving into right now as well?
So we're not a big TV family. Did just watch by myself because nobody else wanted to watch it with me. The new Game of Thrones, House of Dragons. That was good. And we're currently working our way through Lego Masters season 3.
Nice. Season 3 already. That's Will Arnett, right? He's the one who hosts it. Okay.
Yes. Yeah.
Season
3 is like in progress right now. So,
nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's
anywhere folks can find you, like LinkedIn or any places you want to share with folks if they're looking to talk to Leigh, work with Leigh.
LinkedIn is the best. Hit me up on LinkedIn if anybody, any campaign services. I love it's funny you mentioned like, don't sleep on the little build projects. I love those. So you got emails, forms, landing pages, those little build projects. I love them.
I always like to pretend like I'm Bob Ross when I'm building an email or a landing page. Like,
Do you talk your way through it?
sometimes, like, I'm gonna put this pretty little logo here. I'm gonna
This
put
little
this.
happy little hero image.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, Leigh. Really,
No
really
problem.
appreciate it. First episode. You're like
Episode.
you're the benchmark now. So it's can only go up from here, right?
Flagship. This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks, Leigh.
All right.
Thank you so much to Leigh for joining me on the first episode of the Indie Marketers podcast. We did it! First episode under wraps. Really appreciate everyone who's listened to this. Really appreciate everyone who listened to the teaser. We're gonna have a lot more fun doing this stuff in the future as well. Hopefully, we'll have some other really cool guests coming on in the future. Hopefully, I'll have some really cool topics to talk about. If there's certain things that you want to hear about, if there are certain people you want to hear from, if you want to join me on an episode, let me know. 3mg.ca. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can shoot me an email at mike@mikemcfarland.ca as well. Really looking forward to doing more of these. This is really fun for me. And hopefully it's fun for you to listen to as well. For all of my American friends, depending on when you listen to this, hope you're having a great Thanksgiving. For my fellow Canadians, hope you're able to take advantage of any Black Friday deals ahead of the holiday season as well. And we'll be back next week with more fun. Take care.